Here at Oddschecker, we are looking ahead to the next Premier League season, and I'm joined by Manchester United fan Adam McCullough, who's going to talk us through what he thought about last season and your hopes and dreams for next season as well. Firstly, we'll look back at last season. After everything that's been said, it was still a second place finish. How do you look back on it yourself as a fan?
I look back at it in two ways, really. Like, when you look at the season before, we finished outside the top four, we won the Europa League, we won the League Cup. And then last season, we finished second, we didn't win anything. And whilst on paper, I think, we were in the Champions League, we finished second, we were a better team. I think from watching the team and watching performances, it didn't feel like there was much progression or improvement in the side. And that was the frustrating thing, because although we finished second, we were never really in a title race. There was never one point where people thought, oh, United could win this league.
Yeah.
And realistically, Manchester United have to be involved in a title race. And then you come to this season and it's just like, you would expect things to be in a bit of a better shape approaching the third season. So it's a little bit of a weird one, but overall, last season was an improvement. Finished second, and then we should have a foundation to then say, all right, let's go challenge for the league title or win the league title now. But you just get a feeling that we're not quite ready to do that yet.
Do you think you were the second best team last season in the Premier League?
Yeah. I'm one of those people that thinks the table doesn't lie. I mean, a lot of people spoke about Liverpool, and yes, they played some great football, and yes, Mo Salah was on fire. They didn't beat us once.
Yeah.
So when you look at things like that, like, yes, Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool were doing great, but they didn't finish above us. They didn't even beat us. And I think they've had a pretty good summer, but even then, like, I'd still put United just ahead of them because of I think Mourinho has a big difference to Klopp. I'm not Mourinho's biggest fan, and I would probably prefer to watch a Jurgen Klopp side, but Mourinho's a winner, Klopp isn't. And Klopp's proven that year in, year out, that he's not a winner.
So there's a lot of noise at the moment about the signings that Liverpool have made, and a lot of talk about Maurizio Sarri coming at Chelsea. They'll be playing a better style of football than they have done in the past. Do you still think that United are the closest challengers to Manchester City going to next season?
Because of the summer Liverpool have had, bringing in a better keeper, guaranteed to
anyone
be a massive,
better,
yeah. I think they could have got me in and it would have been a better shout than Karius. But I mean, you look at the signings they've made, they brought Fabinho and Keita in. Now, I looked at Liverpool's midfield, and every time I saw Jordan Henderson in it, I thought, they ain't going to trouble nobody. You're not winning a league with Jordan Henderson. But then they've gone and got Fabinho and Keita, who realistically should mean Henderson's just a squad player now.
Yeah.
So they have improved in some very important areas, and if Klopp can get it right, if the pressure doesn't make him crack, which having spent all this money it potentially could do, I think they could be there or thereabouts. But I do think with Mourinho, if we get a centre-half in before the window closes, I think Mourinho should be expected to challenge for that league title, especially with the attacking threat that we've got.
Mourinho's made a lot of headlines this pre-season with the I mean, he always does, but especially with his interviews, and he seems pretty depressed and pretty down about things at the moment. Is this
dragging me down with him?
I know. But is this another example of Mourinho playing the press to his advantage? Does he know what he's doing, or is this genuinely, are we seeing things maybe begin to unravel? I mean, he only signed a new contract a few months ago, but there's already talk about unrest behind the scenes.
I know I say, I want to see Jose Mourinho be positive. I want Jose Mourinho, like when you're on pre-season tour, we knew the World Cup players weren't going to be available. We knew that the transfer window was reduced because English clubs voted for it. Like, we knew all these things were coming. So I don't use those as an excuse, and I just wished Jose Mourinho approached this summer like, okay, let's see what we can learn about the team, about the players that I do have. Anything from the youth team coming through that we could potentially look at? And what about the players that we have here? Can they try something? Because, I mean, against Bayern Munich in our final friendly, we had Darmian, Shaw, Bailly, Lindelof, De Gea, Herrera, Pereira, Fred, Sanchez, Rashford. That's going to be our team that starts against Leicester. So why didn't we try something different with that team to try and get something out of them rather than focusing on the negatives? That kind of thing annoyed me, but I do understand why Jose is really miserable and sending messages through the press. I understand it because when you look at Ed Woodward, you look at the board, you look at the Glazers, Are they backing him properly? Are they helping him properly? And I think you've got to say they're not. Jose Mourinho has wanted a fullback for a long time. He still hasn't got one.
Yeah.
We're still playing wingers that used to be good in 2010 at fullback. Let's be honest. So I can understand where his frustrations come from. We want to buy a left back. He looks at the squad that we've got. We've got Rojo, Darmian, Blind, who's just left, Shaw, Young, about 5-6 players that can play left back. You look at centre back, the same. Look at right back, maybe not that luxury, but you're looking in these positions that we need to strengthen in, and there's still a lot of squad players. And I think we've suffered from a lack of investment before Fergie retired, and B, since then we've had a mismatch of transfer policies. We haven't really had a direction. We haven't really had a plan. And I think when you look at Manchester City, I hate to point to that, but they're our rivals now. When you look to Manchester City, they've got owners that, regardless of who the manager is, they are protecting the football side of things. They're trying to improve the team on and off the pitch. And I think our owners and our board and Ed Woodward are only interested in the coin. So I heard Ed Woodward a couple of weeks ago said, or a month ago said about Liverpool, that Liverpool haven't won the league in 20 odd years and they can still bring in big money and big sponsorships. And that told me all I need to know. This club isn't interested in winning trophies anymore. This club, these owners, Ed Woodward, are just interested in staying afloat, staying profitable, staying in that top four. And I think Jose Mourinho can see that and he's getting frustrated with it.
And if you look at the players he brought in, I mean, obviously Alexis Sanchez had a tricky time when he came in January. Victor Lindelof didn't have his best first season after coming in from Portugal. Even, Paul Pogba, whilst he's one of your treasured assets, hasn't necessarily done as much as people hope for. Is there a concern that the actual recruitment itself is an issue? Or is that part of the coaching? Is that part of the way Mourinho plays his football?
I think Jose's signings, when you look at just his signings, have been pretty good. I think you look in his first season, we got Pogba, Bailly, Ibrahimovic, Mkhitaryan, I think. Yeah. And Bailly, for me, is our best centre-half when fit. That's a big question mark over him. Pogba's Pogba. We know what we get with Pogba. Ibra, we needed him at that time in that first season. And Mickey's now gone. Okay, we got Sanchez in off him. Decent signing. Anybody would have took that. Victor Lindelof, I think there's still a lot more to come from him. Matic was a decent sign. I think every time you look at his summer transfer windows, he's gone into those windows thinking, I need 5 players. And then by the end of it, he's saying, I'm happy to have 2 or 3. Yeah. And that's been the last 2 windows now. So we just keep falling behind again. And I don't think you can solve everything by buying. But I do think we do need to buy in areas, and that's why he's getting frustrated. But I just hoped and wished that maybe, I know he's not that kind of man, but maybe you would try to turn a positive from it, from a negative, rather than just moan about it. You know what I mean? Because you're here now. Every time I see you, you look depressed. You're Manchester United manager. It's July, August. We should be excited for the season. Yeah. The only thing I'm excited about is seeing my friends and having a drink. And all that again, I'm not excited about the footballing side of thing. So it's a little bit of a weird one. I can see where Jose is coming from, but he doesn't help himself.
For anyone who hasn't been watching any of Man United in pre-season, what can you tell us about the way it's gone, about the way they're playing? Is it more of the same kind of football, or is there any spark there?
It's hard to tell because he hasn't got his full squad, but nothing's changed.
Okay.
Nothing looks like it's changed. We've tried a back 3/back 5 at times, but we've done that before in pre-season. I think the only big thing for me is Andreas Pereira. He's come in this season. He's had 2 good pre-seasons in the past, but gone out on loan. And now this pre-season is coming just after Michael Carrick's retired. He's still working alongside Michael Carrick, who's a coach. I don't think McTominay is great. Fellaini is Fellaini. I don't really think he's a central midfielder. So when you look at Pogba, Matic, Herrera, Fred, there's a big chance for Pereira to become part of that bunch of players that make up our midfield 3. So I think the biggest thing from pre-season has been the form of Andreas Pereira and what that could mean for United this season. Could make us not miss Carrick or Matic.
And talking of centre midfield options, what do you think of Fred?
Not seen enough of him to judge fairly. The glimpses I've seen, they look like he had something about him. He could thread the ball through, excuse the pun. He was good at getting the ball through the lines. He tried one outrageous outrageous flick on the edge of his own box against Real Madrid, which paid off. And there was just little glimpses. But up until we get to see him with Pogba and how will it allow Pogba to be free and release him a little bit? That's what we're looking to see, and I hope it does. He's a decent player, but I think it's just at the moment the problem lies in defence and with the manager.
So looking ahead to next season, you don't seem particularly upbeat. It's fair to say. Do you think that? I mean, where do you think United are going to finish in the Premier League? Do you think Jose will be there at the end of the season, or is it maybe a campaign where you look for success away from the Premier League?
I could very easily see a season where Jose Mourinho wins the league, signs a 6-year contract at the end of it, and everything is rosy in the garden. But I could, as much as I can see that happening, I can also see Jose Mourinho out by December. He's imploded and everything's gone wrong. It really does have the making of an absolute madness of a season either way. I've seen some predictions saying United are going to finish outside the top 4 and this, that and the other. And whilst if we imploded and Mourinho left like he normally does in his third, that could possibly happen. If that doesn't happen, if we're not finishing outside the top 4, like, I just can't see that. So I think we'll finish second or third. I'd like to be able to say first. I'm usually so horribly deluded. Like, you'd hate sitting next to me, but these last couple of years have just pegged me in a little bit. And if we get a centre half and we get Alderweireld and Jose makes that front line click, we can win the league. But there's too many ifs there for me. If
Jose did leave in a couple of months' time and get his big payout that maybe some people think he wants, who would you like to see come in?
Genuinely, I've gone to a point. As a Manchester United fan, you got to think I'm 29 years old. So I was born in 1989. Fergie was already manager. I've never seen anything other than Fergie. Yeah. And now in these last couple of years, I've seen Moyes, Van Gaal. I thought Mourinho was the man to change everything around, and he still could be, but I just genuinely don't know anymore. You would look at Poch, possibly, Zizou, possibly, but none of them tell me there'd be an instant success. No. I don't think there's that manager out there that you'd think, he'd come in and guarantee that. I don't think there's one out there anymore because we all thought Mourinho was that. Yeah.
I think Poch seems like the interesting one, but I'd like to see you try and nick him off Daniel Levy midway through a season.
Oh, he'd love that, wouldn't he? He'd be rubbing his hands together. He'd see us coming from a mile off. I can't stand negotiate. I know I'm not involved in but when we ever have to negotiate with that guy, it's pure headache. I mean, he pushed Berbatov down to the last day. Yeah. And I'm sure he'll try and squeeze every penny possible out of this Alderweireld thing. That's why I think there's been a lot of talk about Maguire and Yerry Mina and this, that. I think United are probably just trying to put the feelers out there so Daniel Levy actually just accepts a bid.
Yeah. Just force his hand.
Yeah. I really hope we get Alderweireld. I cannot have another season of Smalling and Jones, or even just Smalling. I cannot do that. Like, I looked at these stats towards the end of the season, and I knew I wasn't imagining things. Chris Smalling only missed 1 game in 2018.
Really? I mean that does seem unbelievable.
I'm better than Chris Smalling. Real talk.
Is Chris Smalling better than Phil Jones?
No. I think he's more reliable in terms of fitness.
Yeah, of course.
I think they're both as bad as each other, to be honest. But I think he's more reliable in terms of fitness. But I think Phil Jones is better. But let's be real, if Smalling and Jones were French, they wouldn't still be at Manchester United. No. If they were, they wouldn't still be here. The only reason they're still here is they're English, probably on big wages, and nobody else wants them.
I'll try and finish this chat on something of a positive and look at Europe now, where obviously in Jose Mourinho's first season, you won the Europa League.
Can we go back to that competition, please?
Yeah. Well, you might do. The way things are going, you might be there in a couple of months' time. Be careful what you wish for. Champions League, you go into it again, not as one of the favourites, but with a decent chance, you'd have thought, given the second best team in England last season. Having seen the way that Mourinho approaches knockout football, do you think that maybe the Champions League provides you more of an opportunity?
I thought that last season,
had massive success in.
I thought that last season, and then we played Sevilla at home, and Jose put himself before the team, and his ego before the team, and he dropped Pogba and played McTominay and Fellaini, and it was awful from start to finish, and we lost against a Sevilla side that hadn't won a game in God knows how long. Their manager got sacked soon after, and I think, you know, that Sevilla game is probably, you could probably pinpoint that as the moment where I started to feel like, is Mourinho the man, and started to question it a little bit. Look, I've fully got Mourinho's back right now. He's the only man for the job at the moment, and we need to get behind him. And he's not the only one to blame for what's going on at the minute, because we've had a long, long time of these Glazers, and people can't tell me they're not leeches, because they are. So when you look at that, it's not just Mourinho's fault, but last season's Champions League made me doubt him in Europe a little bit, because he got it so wrong against Sevilla. But it's Mourinho, isn't it? It's Manchester United, and one thing is for sure in the Champions League, regardless of what club you are, you don't want to draw Man United or Mourinho. Like, so that will always give. It's a cup competition. I mean, Liverpool won it once, and they were rubbish under Gerard Houllier. So, as you can see, cup competitions, anything can happen. But I wouldn't put us in the top 4 or top 8 to win it. Genuinely wouldn't.
One player who had a good season in his last season, and also a good World Cup, was Romelu Lukaku. One of the positives at the moment for Manchester United. Do you expect him to have another good season?
Ram scored the most goals he's ever scored in a season last season, and people were still saying he hasn't done enough for us. And I felt really sorry for him, because he didn't have much service. And that's crazy considering he's our top goal scorer. But we need to create chances for him, because he could be a man that gets 40, 50 goals a season. So yeah, I think Lukaku will have a big season. I think the big season this year is for Paul Pogba. This could possibly be the year of Paul Pogba, where he can push Manchester United onto big things. He's just won the World Cup. If he can have a great season, United will have a great season. So, and Lukaku will have a great season, because he'll know that create a lot for him. So, big season for Pogba. And if United don't start winning things again,
he'll be off.
He'll probably want to leave in a year or two. So, we need to.
Well, talking winning things, I'm going to put you on the spot. Finally, how many trophies United are going to win, and which ones, or which one?
All of them. Genuinely speaking, I wouldn't be surprised to see us win a cup or something like that. But right now, I don't feel confident for the league title. And that's the bread and butter. That's what you want to win every single year. I'd say we finished second, but if things click into gear and our players know how we know they can play, Sanchez gets 20 goals, Lukaku 20 plus, etc., possibly do it. And surely City can't keep up that pace again, right?
We'll see. Certainly looks like a more competitive league this year, and fingers crossed
Hopefully.
You can be up there again.
Hopefully we send Pep for another sabbatical.